Welcome back to another edition of the Futbol Forever podcast, a podcast where we talk about the Liga MX and everything going on around Mexican football. It had been a minute, man. I know. It had been a minute, but we are back, baby. We are back. Diego Lainez, since we've been gone, Diego Lainez is now in Europe. Chivas are on a 4-game win streak. Cruz Azul has won 1 out of the last 8 matches. And América still has not lost, man. América has not lost in 21 games. A lot of stuff is happening, but we are back. Oh, and well, since we've been gone, América still does not have a refuerzo. Still does not have a new signing. What the hell is going on? I mean, I understand what Miguel Herrera said, man. I understand he said, we're going to take our time with this. There is no rush. We're not going to bring a player just to bring a player. But come on, man, get to work. It's going to be week 3 already, and you still don't have your striker. Stuff got complicated between América and Benfica. Nico Castillo agreed to come. He said, I want to go and play for Club América, but Benfica tried to finesse, man. Benfica tried to finesse Club América, and they raised the price on a player that they don't really use, man. They don't use him. I mean, even in the cup, Nico Castillo didn't leave the bench. They got rid of their old coach. They brought in a new one. That coach still doesn't take them into account. They don't need Nico Castillo. They're just trying. They're trying to finesse Club América. América, I don't think they're fully, done with the chase for Nico Castillo. I think they're gonna wait it out. I think they're gonna wait it out a little bit more. Sure, you had the sporting president, Santiago Baños, the sporting director, whatever his title is. You had Baños confirming and stating that they were done chasing Nico Castillo because of Benfica's demands. I don't think that's true. I think they're going to wait it out till one of the final, if not the final day of the winter transfer window, which is the 31st of January. And then they're going to make a final offer, and Benfica will more than likely accept it if it's reasonable, of course. Because they don't need Nico Castillo. They don't want Nico Castillo unless he gets another an offer from a different team in Europe, a reasonable offer. I think América will offer for him again, and Benfica will more than likely accept if if it's late in the transfer window and they don't know they don't have anything anywhere else to send Nico Castillo to, because they're not taking him into account. So anyway, I didn't mean to go on a whole Nico Castillo rant right at the beginning of the podcast, but it's good to be back, man. It's good to be back. Yeah, man. Like you heard me say, Diego Lainez is now in Europe, as you guys know. The kid signed for Real Betis on a reported fee. There's been a ton of fees that I've heard and read about, but I think it was a reported fee of either 14 million or between 14 and 16 million euros. That's what América got for Diego Lainez. A hefty fee, man. A hefty fee for an 18-year-old unproven talent. I mean, he looks very good, but he's still unproven. But what a talent! What a talent he is, and the character he has. I mean, he's just beyond his years, man. He's just mature beyond his age. The way he speaks, the way he carries himself, the way he plays on the pitch. I mean, he's not an 18-year-old, but his birth certificate says so. So Diego Lainez, man, I'm just happy. I'm just happy to see him in Europe. Unfortunately, as I'm recording this, Real Betis actually advanced. They got past Real Sociedad, a 2-2 draw in the Copa del Rey, but Diego Lainez didn't. He was in the bench, but he didn't see any minutes. His debut will have to wait with Real Betis, but I'm confident he's gonna get some playing time. And we'll get into whether or not Real Betis was actually the way to go. Over Ajax, because we all know that Real Betis swooped in and scooped him up from Ajax, basically taking him from Ajax's hands, because Ajax was mainly pretty much the only team that had proposed a real offer for Diego Lainez, a serious offer that América was considering, and so was Diego. But Real Betis last minute comes in and says, hey, we've been watching you since the Toulon tournament. Here's Andres Guardado. We're in the best, if not the second best league in the world. The language, the food, you're not gonna have any issues with that. So I mean, it was an interesting offer, and one, he's gonna be under Quique Setién, a very, very much respected manager in Spain. It was just an offer that Diego Lainez and América could not reject, could not deny. So Diego Lainez is now in La Liga, side by side with his new dad, on the pitch, Andres Guardado, El Capi Guardado. And I think it's a great place for him to land, man. It's definitely a great place. But yeah, man, we're gonna talk about Diego Lainez, as we go on in the podcast. But yeah, man, Chivas is on a hot streak. Chivas, 4 games in a row, 2 cup matches, 2 league matches, defeating Cruz Azul last weekend in the Azteca. And Cruz Azul, man, is not facing their best moments, man. Cruz Azul, it has not been a good winter for Cruz Azul. They did not have a good liguilla. They didn't play well. They advanced to the final. We all know what happened in the final. And then come January, you're about to start the season, and Marcones says, Boca is asking for me, and I'd like to leave, please. I mean, just not a good winter. Not a good winter for Cruz Azul, for La Máquina. But they got some interesting refuerzos, man. They got some very, very good players. And Jonathan Rodriguez, for example, Yoshi Yotun is another interesting one. Orbelín Pineda. Now, to the Orbelín Pineda signing, there's 2 ways to see it. I see Chivas winning in that exchange, because sure, Orbelín Pineda is a good player. He's a solid player. He adds quality. He adds depth to your roster, to your squad. But 12 million for Orbelín Pineda, yeah, that's crazy, man. That's a little too much. Sure, what is he, 22 years old? So he's a very, very young player. He still has, a high ceiling. He still has room to grow, of course. But I think for the last 3 seasons, Orbelín has been not missing in action, not MIA completely, but he's been poor, man. He hasn't been great. Since Chivas won the championship, Orbelín hasn't been the same. So for Chivas, it made sense. You're offering 12 million for Orbelín Pineda. I'm sure, and I know some Chivas fans were upset that they let him go. But for 12 million, that's just an offer that you cannot reject for a player that isn't necessarily crucial to your play style, to your success. Yeah, man, you have to accept that offer. And it's kind of showing. Orbelín hasn't looked great here with Cruz Azul. Now he's just starting. It's a new club. You got to give him time. He's under a new manager, et cetera, et cetera. So you got to give him time to adapt. But it just made sense. That transfer made sense for Chivas. You look at his numbers, 12 million. I don't have his numbers at hand. I just remember when the transfer went down. I remember, I think it was the Chivas del Norte guys who tweeted Orbelín's stats with Chivas. And he's a good player, etc., but they weren't spectacular, and it just made sense to let him go for that amount. It made total sense. So I think Chivas definitely won that exchange, and I like the pickups that Chivas had this offseason, man. I like the young gun Alexis Vega. Now in a Chivas jersey, Jesus Molina, man, one of the best number 5s in the league. He wasn't getting regular playing time with Monterrey because of the depth that Monterrey has in their squad. As Chivas, that's an excellent pickup right there. So Chivas, I think they got some good refuerzos, man. They definitely made some good moves. Now Chivas is a team that can't spend like Cruz Azul, that can't be spending like Rayados, that can't be spending like América. Although América hasn't spent a friggin' dime. They're about to sell Cecilio. They already sold Lainez. It's interesting what's going on with Cecilio and Independiente and América. América wants Independiente to deposit the money, and then they'll let Cecilio go. But Independiente says, no, I want to pay you in small portions. They want to finance Cecilio Dominguez, and América is like, nah, you got to pay me, X amount right now. I don't want you to give me, your monthly payments like you would with a car or a mortgage. So América's not trying to play that game. We'll see what ends up happening, but it's almost confirmed Cecilio Dominguez is going to be leaving Club América if he hasn't left by now by the time you're listening to this. But yeah, man, interesting start. Back to Chivas. Interesting start. I don't know why I was gonna say chart. Interesting start by El Rebaño, man. 4 wins in a row, 2 in league, like I said, and two in the cup, beating Cimarrones. So yeah, man, Chivas is looking good now. They have room for growth. Definitely some pressure in Cardoso to get Chivas to the Liguilla, because a good start isn't gonna be enough. Chivas needs to be in the Liguilla. And if this team starts going downhill mid-season or late in the season, and they don't get into the Liguilla, I don't think Cardoso is gonna survive that. I think though he's on a thin line, man, because of what happened at the Club World Cup, where Chivas got last place, 6 out of 6. They're not gonna be too forgiving with Cardoso. He needs to be in the Liguilla, because a team like Chivas, Liguilla should be the standard, should be the bare minimum. That is, Chivas needs to be at least in the semifinals, if not the final. A team of that magnitude has to aspire to win the league. Now, I don't see how Chivas, maybe I'm speaking too soon, but I don't see how Chivas has the roster strength, especially considering, the northern teams, América, Cruz Azul, the roster that those teams have. I don't see how Chivas could, compete and get to a final and win the league this season. But hey, man, they need to die trying, and they need to be in the Liguilla. And once you're in the Liguilla, it's a different ball game there, man. It's a different ball game, as many of you guys know. So good start from Chivas. We'll see how they keep progressing throughout the season. Cruz Azul needs to pick it up, man. I know Caixinha has been saying, "Hey, man, we're changing our style of play." Cruz Azul lost once again in the cup. Like I said, they've won 1 out of their last 8 matches. I think that win was against Querétaro it was against Monterrey. I'm sorry, it was against Monterrey in leg 2 of the semifinals in the Liguilla. But it's not looking good for Cruz Azul. They're in the middle of a complete transition in play style, according to their manager Caixinha. They're going to be more possession based. They're not going to be as defensive focused. Marcone, while he was a pillar to their success, a hell of a player. I think the second best defensive mid in the league. Guido Rodriguez, in my opinion, is the best one in the league. But he was more defensive focused. He didn't really add too much to the team offensively speaking. So now they're with this transition process. They just picked up a new player in Eustáquio, I think his name is. I forgot his full name. Eustáquio, a 21-year-old from the Portuguese league. He's Portuguese himself. So we'll see how he ends up developing and looking with La Máquina. But Cruz Azul needs to pick it up, and I think they'll be okay. Honestly, I think Cruz Azul will be okay. They have quality in every single line. Sure, Marcone again. I hate to touch the subject again, but huge gap, man. Huge gap that you will have to fill. You have Baca right there. You have Salas. You have Orbelin. And I understand, you can not one single of those 3 players that I just mentioned is on par with what Marcone gave you in the midfield. But you have to figure something out. Now you have Eustáquio as well, so he's going with a formation change and a change of play style, and we'll see how it ends up playing out for La Máquina. But they have a tough visit this weekend, man. They have a tough visit on Saturday night. They have to visit Tigres. As you all know, man, defeating Tigres is hard enough. Defeating them at home is almost impossible. Impossible is nothing, but Tigres, crazy enough, Tigres is having a good start. We always talk about Tigres, having a slow start, and then at the end of the season, that's when they turn it on. It's the Tuca way, man. That's the way Tigres always does it. And once they're in the Liguilla, they're a different animal. They weren't able to get past Pumas in this past Liguilla, as we all know. But this time around, in this season, at least for the first 2 matches, Tigres has looked good, man. Tigres is with a win and a draw. They're just coming off of a hell of a win against Xolos, and Cruz Azul having to go in there and defeat Tigres is gonna be crazy hard, and it's a tough task for sure. But can you imagine, man? Can you imagine the news outlets? If Cruz Azul lose this match, they're going to be all over the team in a negative light. So it's a tough visit. It's a tough visit for La Máquina. But I'm looking forward to that match because it's 2 rosters, 2 squads that have tons of quality in each line. And that's going to be a hell of a game, I'm sure. Now let's go ahead and switch subjects, man. Let's go back to the Lainez topic. I know I'm all over the place. I'm Lainez, América, Chivas, Cruz Azul, etc. I know, man. I write everything down before I record the podcast. The topics in a certain order. This time I'm just let's go, man. I just click record and started speaking. So I apologize if I'm all over the place. But back to Lainez. So Diego Lainez was Betis, in my opinion. What was that? The right move. I don't know if there was a right or wrong move. You know what I mean? I think I think Diego Lainez himself wins regardless. I think both were great places for him to land. Now, if you're asking, which is the better move, then I guess that's a different way of seeing it. I don't know, man. I started getting convinced that Real Betis would be a very good place for him to land. Sure, you hear everyone saying Ajax would have been a better place for him. Not everyone saying, but I see a ton of, especially in ESPN Deportes, a lot of their analysts think that Ajax was the way for him to go because the Eredivisie is a less demanding league. It is not on par with what La Liga is in Spain. Everyone knows that. We all see Chucky Lozano and the success he's having, and how many times he's finding the back of the net in the league. If you're in PSV or in Ajax, in that league, it might be very hard for you to fail, especially if you have the quality, to start, week in and week out. The defending in that league isn't the best. So maybe there would have been less pressure for Diego Lainez. Obviously, the Ajax squad is also a much younger squad, not as much experience than the one you find in Real Betis. So Diego Lainez would have fit right in, you know what I mean? They I don't think he would have had a ton of pressure to succeed quickly, and he might have found success easier than what he is here with Real Betis. Earning a spot in the starting 11 with Real Betis is going to be very, very tough for Diego Lainez. Finding the back of the net is probably going to be very tough for Diego Lainez in La Liga. But shouldn't we encourage that? If we're saying this kid looks mature, this kid looks different, he is Mexico's biggest prospect, then maybe this is what he needs. Maybe, or not necessarily what he needs, but maybe this is going to be very beneficial to him. Quiques at the end, the manager already said, we're not expecting a ton from him right off the bat. We're going to take him little by little. I think it was the Real Betis president that said he's not only an investment for the future, but he's also for the present as well. They're also expecting something from him, right now or in the short term. But they know that he's not the Messi Mexicano. I hate that label. I hate when people use it. I hate when journalists ask him about that because, you shouldn't do that to a player. Don't label him Messi. Don't do that to a player. It's pointless and it's uncalled for, and I hate it. Anyway, yes, they know that Diego isn't the second coming of Messi, but he's a very good player. With tons and tons of talent. So he's not only an investment, a promise for the future. They know that he has something to add here in the present. So they're going to give him, the playing time that he earns. But you've heard Quiques at the end say, we're not going to put all the pressure on the kid. We're going to take him little by little. He was on the bench today as I'm recording this against Real Sociedad in the Copa del Rey. But, I'm sure his debut will come soon enough. He's only had 3, now 4 trainings with Real Betis. So you couldn't expect for him to really get playing time. I was excited. I was hopeful that he would get his debut, but he still needs some more practice, and he needs to get to know the team a little bit more before I think the manager gives him a shot. So it'll be interesting, man. It'll be fun to see how Diego Lainez develops. I don't think he's going to be a bench rider. It is going to be tough for him to earn himself a spot in the starting 11, but with 3 competitions that Real Betis is currently in, the league, the cup, and the Europa League, it's gonna be hard for him to not see action in any one of those competitions. I'm sure he's gonna see some good playing time, and we'll see how he does things, man. I'm excited. I'm hopeful. I think I read something today that the Ajax manager was actually bummed. He was not happy that Diego Lainez didn't end up with Ajax. He feels like it's a missed opportunity for Ajax, because Diego Lainez would have had something to add there. So yeah, man. Obviously, Ajax wanted Diego. I think Diego wanted Ajax till Real Betis came in and said, "Hey, man, we've been following you for a while since the Toulon tournament, and here's our proposal." And they showed. They showed a ton of interest in Diego Lainez because Ajax, had a very good offer. Betis matched it. Ajax proposed another one, and Betis surpassed that one. I mean, they showed that they really wanted Diego Lainez. It was the 3rd most expensive transfer in Real Betis' history. So for an 18-year-old Mexican prospect to be that, the 3rd most expensive, I guess you can say, acquisition in the club's history, that says something. They definitely are expecting greatness from Diego Lainez, but slowly but surely keeping in mind that he's only an 18-year-old kid that is going to need time to adapt. So Diego Lainez to Real Betis. That's a 2 thumbs up for me, man. I think that's a great place for him to land. Again, he has Andres Guardado right there. He's the captain of the team, and it's gonna help. It definitely is gonna help in his adaptation process. The rest will be up to Diego and the way he trains and the way he does what he displays when he's given the opportunity to get some playing time, man, with the first team. So we'll see, man. But I like it. I like the move. So let's go back to Club América and talk about the transfer situation, man, because there's yet to be one. The América management is taking forever on this one. I'm sure Miguel Herrera cannot be happy, too happy with them, because he's losing players. We're already on week 3, and they've yet to land a signing. I'm sure it's close. I'm sure about that, because the transfer window isn't going to be open for much longer. They got about 2 weeks, maybe not even. Yeah, exactly 2 weeks almost. So to the 31st of this month, and then that's it. You don't get anything else. So you lost Diego Lainez. You're about to lose Cecilio. You're trying to get rid of Insaurralde. You let go of Pedro Arce. You let go of Joe Corona. Back on loan with Xolos. So you need that depth, you know what I mean? Because you're in the Copa MX, you got to win that. The league, obviously, you're aspiring for the bicampeonato, so you got to have some depth. That's the name of the game, because there's going to be injuries. América's facing that right now. Lainez is close to coming back, but he's still got a few weeks to recover. You have Mateus Uribe slowly but surely recovering. He might be ready to play this weekend, but you still have your number 9, your main guy for now, which is Roger Martinez. He's still out for a few more weeks. And you have Ibargüen, who had to undergo some surgery. He's going to be out for about 4 weeks. So you need to have certain depth to be able to deal with all these injuries and have the team still, come out with positive results. So the latest rumors the latest rumors in the América circle are placing Alejandro El Cacu Romero as one of the main transfer targets to cover that left wing position that Cecilio is about to leave vacant, that Ibargüen, currently can't fill because he's recovering from his surgery. Diego Lainez was another one that used to fill that position. That would have been his spot if he hadn't left for Real Betis. He would have been a starter with Club América, according to Miguel Herrera. But yeah, man, you definitely need another player in that position. It's confirmed 100% by the sporting president and by the manager himself, Miguel Herrera, that they will get a left wing and they will get a striker by the end of the transfer window. They're taking, an awful amount of time, but that is going to happen according to them. A left winger to cover Lainez and Cecilio's eventual departure, and a number 9 to promote more competition between Oribe Peralta, Henry Martin, and Roger Martinez. That's why he wants that number 9, because Henry didn't get it done last season. He didn't get a ton of chances. He did play the final, but he didn't get a ton of chances. Not like Roger. Roger Martinez didn't get it done last season. Oribe, he did what he could, but because of his age, he's on a decline. There's no shame in saying that. So he needs another striker. He wants another striker. You've heard the whole thing with Nico Castillo. I said it at the beginning of the pod. I think they're still going to go after Nico Castillo. It's a waiting game, man. Benfica right now is asking for way too much. It doesn't make sense to pay that, especially if Benfica doesn't need this player. They don't really want this player, I'm sure. So they're just trying to take advantages of the situation, and they're doing business. That's at the end of the day, that's what's happening. So you also have América rumored to be going after Carlos Vaca. He's with Villarreal, not getting a ton of playing time with Villarreal. Another, veteran striker. He's 32 years old. América didn't pursue Boselli because of his age, but I think also what the wages that Boselli was asking for were a little too high for América's liking for a 33-year-old player. But I don't think Vaca is going to be that. He's not going to be much cheaper than Boselli, if he's cheaper than him at all. But I think Vaca has a little bit more to offer than, a legend, with all due respect to Mauro Boselli. So anyway, those are the names, man. El Cacu Romero. You have Héctor Villalba, another one that's also rumored to be, within the transfer targets of Club América. I don't know how true this one is, the Héctor Villalba one. He's in Atlanta United right now, because Miguel Herrera already had this player with Xolos. I think it was for 6 months. He had him for 1 season, and he didn't play him. He didn't play him at all, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm not too sure if Héctor Villalba would be psyched to come back under Miguel Herrera. And I don't know if he's of Herrera's liking. Also, he's not a pure number 9, and he's not a left winger, right? So I'm not too sure about the Héctor Villalba one, but he's another one of those players that is rumored to be one of their transfer targets. We'll see what ends up happening. There's not a lot left. Of the transfer window, so we'll find out soon enough who América ends up signing. For sure a left winger, and for sure a number 9, a striker. So anyways, I know I've been all over the place. I apologize for that, but it's good to be back, man. It's good to be back recording the podcast. Thank you guys for your patience. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Futbol Forever out.